Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Inattention Steam Next Fest October 22 Special Edition. Here we're taking a look at Ticket to Europe, a game that's been brought to my attention by the lead writer and CEO of X0 Games, the publisher and developer of this game. It's a interactive fiction game, adventure game so to speak. Go to Steam store page reads, Ticket to Europe is a socially engaged tech-based RPG about a journalist looking for his big break by uncovering the plights of refugees traveling from Africa to Europe. This story inspired by true events. So just a quick glance, this is the options menu. I just edited the, I altered the volume and just the text size, but that's about it. Okay, without further ado, let's check out Ticket to Europe. You are frustrated. 30-something wannabe writer from Warsaw who decides to make something out of himself. You will amaze the literary world with your earth-shattering book about refugees. It will inspire crowds and galvanize hearts and expand minds and change the world in all the right ways. Before you prepare your Nobel Prize acceptance speech, there's only the trivial matter of actually traveling to Africa to gather some notes for the story. You have an ingenious plan to smuggle yourself onto one of the illegal boats that travel to Europe from the shores of Africa while pretending to be a refugee yourself. Surely nothing can go wrong and you are not completely out of your depth. Surely, right? Your main objective is to collect notebook entries which will allow you to write a better book, meet people, explore places, gain experience, be perceptive and inquisitive. Any information can be relevant. Any person can become your protagonist. Write down everything that seems significant, interesting and surprising to you. Become a writer. Your flight is in a couple of hours. Prologue. Chapter 1. Home. Bitter home. The cursor is blinking on the white background of an empty page. Your flight is in a couple of hours. 30 years of life contained in 38 square meters. It was 2014 when I first heard about the boat sinking in the Mediterranean. Okay, so here we can pick our choices. Where did the cat go? I think I'm going to take a nap before my flight. You know, I'm curious. I need to know where did the cat go. At tag empathy. Suddenly I realized that I haven't seen Engels since the morning. I tried to recall if I gave him his breakfast. I pop into the kitchen and find his bowl is full of kibble. Check the windows, scan bookshelves, search the bed, look inside my backpack. I open the filing cabinet drawers. I go back to writing. Where would the cat go first? I mean, could be this, and this. Let's try. I look inside my backpack. I look inside my backpack. It's been lying in the middle of my studio for 2 days, surrounded by clothes, notebooks and a power bank, and some documents. They would take no more than 15 minutes to pack. Even so, I put it off. What am I afraid of? What am I running from? A trip to Africa is a dream come true, right? It's my door to literary world. Engels is not in backpack. I look elsewhere in the apartment. I check the filing cabinets. Open the filing cabinets. This is where I keep all my all the contracts and other company documents I've ever printed. If I've ever printed anything of any significance to the world, this is it. Addenda, bills, invoices. When I think of myself, I think of a writer. Looking from a distance, though, I live the life of an encounter. So still not here. Look elsewhere. Let's search the bed. It's in my top 3 most used pieces of furniture, and I have the statistics to prove it. At one point, I made a science-based ranking. I calculated that I am seated 91 out of the 168 hours in a week. I spend 49 hours lying down, and I stand or walk around for the remaining 28. If I were to trust arithmetic, my desk and my office chair are tied for the title of the most important piece of furniture in my life. The bed comes third, in fact. All other objects are of no use to me. But the cat's not here. Where could it be? Start to panic. His Angles missing. Angles is missing. And it had to be today. Moments before Hella's visit, I can hear her comments already. How could you lose a cat in a locked apartment? With the underlying suggestion that she could take better care of Angles. She was always better at everything, she said from the start that I was unfit to have a pet, and now, of course, there's proof. She will triumph again. I feel sad or angry. Let's say I feel angry. Come to think of it, why do I care about her opinion? She lost her right to judge me 2 years ago when Eddie landed in hospital. She's supposed to be so resourceful and empathetic, but she shouldn't support me in a time of crisis. She preferred to step back and leave me alone with the tragedy. I hear a meow. Is something rubbing up against my foot? The fluffiness of a cat. Fluffiness of a cat's fur. Oh, there's my boy. I give Angles a scratch. Oh, picture of Angles, please. I wait for a blissful purr. I think I'm going to take it. Let's wait for the purr. I wait for a blissful purr, but it never comes. I scratch on. Silence. Angles seems unwell. He turns his head away and avoids my touch. At the same time, he doesn't attack me with his claws. He's not in the mood for playing either. He walks listlessly towards the radiator and snuggles down at his base as if something were troubling him. Perhaps he sensed that I'm about to leave, or what if he's ill? He hasn't touched his breakfast, which is as surprising as the 2008 financial crash. Worse still, if he did get sick, I couldn't take him to the vet now anyway. The plane won't wait for me. All I can do is ask Ella to get Angles checked up once she picks him up. I decide to spend the rest of my time at the apartment packing. Let's do that. I want to spend time with Angles actually, but I will be gone for at least 15 days, but I have to fit all my stuff into a small backpack. A rainproof jacket, t-shirts and underwear. My wallet, documents, toiletries, phone charger and 3 notebooks take up most of the space in the main compartment. I can just squeeze one book in. I'm still not sure which one I should choose. Jaroslaw Miko Lajewski's Great Tide, Hunter Thompson's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, or Edward Limonov's It's Me, Eddie. Let's try the first one. Non-fiction account about narrator's journey to Lampedusa, which is brief but thick with content. The Italian island 100 km off the African coast, known for its surrounding turquoise sea and fabulous beaches, became a symbol of migration crisis when hundreds of boats filled with refugees began reaching its shores. Although the book is just 130 pages long, I just make a long as the literary patron of my expedition of Africa. Slide the book into my backpack. I have 2 more side pockets left. Into the left one, I put something to lift up my mood. After all, refugee stories can be traumatic. Over the past few days, I watched a series of interviews with volunteers who talked about humanitarian burnout. They were overwhelmed by the scale of human tragedy and suffering they face in refugee camps. Just in case I decide to pack my condoms though. Psychiatric medication. Oh, he is prepared for this, huh? Ultimately, the human mind is merely a product of very complicated chemical reactions. In the right pocket. I'll hide power bank. Never too much energy. I can't fit anything else into my backpack. With the sense of a job well done, I sink into my armchair, but I don't even get a moment to enjoy the feeling. Intercom buzzes. When I hear the fuzz, I freeze. It must be Ella. She's here to pick the cat. To pick up the cat, like we arranged. It's been 2 years since I saw her. I got over her and built myself from the ground up. But I still hold a grudge. And now we are just a few flights of stairs from another meeting. When I look into her face again, after all the suffering, I treat her normally like a regular acquaintance. That's what we are to each other, acquaintances. We went our separate ways, and that's good. I can hear footsteps. In the stairwell, I wait at the door. It draws me like a magnet. Should I shake her hand or kiss her on the cheek? Offer her coffee or get over with it and forget? The doorbell rings. I open the door. Hella looks older. She is older, of course, but it's not about maturing. She just looks unwell, tired, and almost unhappy. Hi, she says. I'll grab the cat and go. My TX double park in front of your building. Here we go. As soon as she opens her mouth, she brags about someone waiting for her. She's dealing the cards as usual. Let me just put angles into his crate real quick, I tell her. You haven't done it yet, huh? She asks with what seems to me as a passive aggression in her voice. It'll take me 1 second. Do you want to help? Let's try that. Ella seems caught off guard by the question, but she agrees. We catch the cat in silence and lock him in the crate. The old routine goes like clockwork. We have done it to every little move back then. When we did it, we would have a little playful back and forth. Today, gestures and rituals have replaced words. And they awaken memories. We'll get going, she says. It was nice seeing you. Uh-huh. She holds out her hand out to me. I shake it, I guess. Touching her feels strange. Memories of our nights together and walking trips outside the city in the spring flash before my eyes. I remember all the wild retreats that we explored on weekends. Ella, let's go. My hand first. She stares at the floor, flustered. Take care of yourself, in Africa. Text me when you land or something, she says. Keep an eye on him, okay? I reply, mentioning to the crate. An hour later, I am off to the airport. Apologies for that. So we're going to Alexandria. I believe it's Egypt. Act 1. Chapter 2, Alexandria, Day 1. Borg El Arab Airport in Alexandria. The lounge is rectangular, spacious, and 10 or so meters tall. Its interior bright with natural light entering through the glass walls. The colors are muted, mostly beige, light brown, and various shades of grey. Here and there, a palm tree sticks out of a cube-shaped flower pot. An attempt to animate the otherwise bland space. The Mediterranean vibe puts me in vacation mode. Or this is the new reality. European tourists who made up the majority of passengers on the plane now seem like exotic respite from the ubiquitous sight of men in tunics and women in hijabs. Looking at them, I feel fascinated. Why present? I look at all the Muslims I pass. I have no idea what their stories are, contrary to what I expected. Only some have their faces covered. Still, I feel a great sense of mystery. In Europe, I learn to label people quickly. Pink hair, she must be a woman's right activist. Work worn hands, I'm sure he voted for conservatives. I see, I judge, I forget, and I move on. Here, it is impossible. Each face is an enigma, a puzzle I want to solve. An ordinary walk around the airport suddenly becomes an exciting odyssey. Traveling is a bit like childhood. You see more. Your perception is sharpened by a true curiosity of the world. And this is just the beginning of my adventures. According to my itinerary, Egypt first impressions. I have nothing else planned for today. On the margins of my research notes, alongside the underlying phone numbers, I only find a short reminder from my publisher, a subtle suggestion to call my fixers and set up some meeting once I've landed. First one, I check out the second set of contact details. I think back to my conversation with the publisher. I study the research dossier first. Let's do that, I guess. I want to refresh my knowledge about Egypt. Days by dozens of numbers and statistics. My eyes randomly stop at this fact. Egypt is the biggest importer of grain in the world. 60% of its supply is met this way. 80% of its grain trade is with Russia and Ukraine. Disturbing the supply chain would likely cause famine in the region, with the conclusion, which usually leads to social unrest, political revolutions, and an increased scale of migration. Can't go that far, globalization. Or if something can be fucked up, it will be fucked up. It's a matter of time. Egypt is a ticking time bomb. When it goes off, the world will see a migration crisis at an unprecedented scale. Take a look at my fixes numbers. Let's check out the first one, I guess. Since no info about either. This one is Eric, a Belgian volunteer, the researcher. Clearly did his job and included some personal remarks on the standard profile. Eric Sonkamp, a humanitarian aid legend, used to volunteer in Europe, but has recently launched his own project in Africa. An idealist, kind of a hippie, man of action, always busy, rarely picks up his phone during the day, sometimes calls back past 11 p.m., sometimes rarely. Call him multiple times a day, but don't hold back. Age 65, but acts much younger. Attached an email Q&A with Eric. Take a look at the interview with Eric. I read several questions at random. Out of 57, many sound familiar. After all, I did help the researcher. I did help the researcher make the list. Question 8. What are the potential dangers for people sailing on a boat? What do refugees eat on their journey? And what is the daily cost of maintaining one immigrant at a camp? What would happen if someone in the camp were a member of ISIS? Or do you know any examples of refugees' creative work? Songs, poems, and drawings. Let's try this one. Question 13. They do not. Daily costs. They are refugees, not immigrants, and you can Google it. Let's try this. No answer. Yes, all of those. If so, which one? Come and see for yourself. Oh my god, it's so not helpful. Potential dangers. Sinking and drowning are the questions. Other questions and answers are written in similar vein. Eric usually gives short yes/no answers to my 3 question inquiries and mini essays. If he has to write a whole sentence, he disregards style, grammar, and punctuation. Yes, bigger things on his mind. I guess. Hard to tell. The answers strike me with their brevity. Just sloppiness doesn't feel like disrespect to me. Okay. Rather, they attest to the constant rush which Eric lives. He writes in monosyllables because he has more important things to do than explaining the nitty-gritty of the migration crisis to an amateur journalist from Central Europe. The conclusion is simple. Having read a couple dozen non-fiction books on Africa and the Middle East, I know nothing about refugees. I can't even ask a question worthy of a long answer. Check out the second contact details. His name is Isaac. He's a native Egyptian. Profile reads Isaac, or actually Ishaq Ahmad Mahmoud Ahmad Muhammad, a so-called fixer, someone who lives off his contacts, would say he can hold of anyone in Alexandria, or at least he says so. He charges for literally everything. It shouldn't surprise you if he bills you even for pickup. He often disappears for a day Likely an active member of the criminal underworld. Warning, shady guy, stay vigilant. Personal data incomplete. The date and place of birth are missing. There is a carton of Robin Hood instead of his photo. There is only his phone number and the detailed address of his place of residence. That's it, nothing more. That's all the materials I've got to read. There's only one thing left. I need to answer the simple yet fundamental question at this stage of the trip. How will I spend my first day in Africa? At the back of my head, I still have my publisher's ominous warning not to fuck around. My itinerary includes just 3 days in Egypt, and the budget is not made of rubber, as Jersey likes to say. I guess let's get to work. See what's up. I have no time to spare. The sooner I get to the refugees, the faster I can find a boat and cross the Mediterranean and get back to Europe. Finish the book and go back to my former life, the one I've just escaped by going to Africa. But maybe I won't have to come back. What if the book becomes a bestseller and this is my life now? A never-ending book tour. Motivated by the vision of a better future, I decide to... which one, huh? Let's try this one. On the first page of my notebook, I find a few sentences that I jotted down on the airplane. Drowsy revelations registered on the threshold of consciousness. They usually appear in my mind as I doze off. I've forgotten about them completely. At the time, they seemed relevant and clear, worth waking up for. I read them. Remember to collect cost of alcohol, most passage. Remember to collect all receipts, or the publisher won't reimburse you. I don't quite understand this one. Receipts versus refugee addictomia. That's not, but let's see what it's about. Turbo capitalism to the rhythm of settling accounts versus the real world of human drama. Reflect on that. And a few other thoughts along the same lines. I'm sure I meant something important, but there's no way in hell I can recall what it was. In the future, I have to remember that no revelation is worth losing sleep over. I turn the page, I start anew with a clean blank one. I express my mood. As soon as my pen touches the paper, my hand pulls it back. My mind struggles with the lack of substance. I feel as unable to write as I did in Warsaw. Actually, what's changed since I left my apartment? One taxi ride, a few hours on the plane, and this airport. So much for our experiences. It's not enough to write a book. Did I just really think that? I guess my insight hasn't leveled up yet either. Perhaps I'll write down... No, don't you dare before I start writing. I need to fill myself up with substance, otherwise I will be condemned to similarly rapid introspection. That's it, finito. In search of stimuli, I decide to... Definitely not get a drink. I don't think I should call either of them first. So let's... I guess strike up a conversation. Look around the airport in search of my first target. Let's try a Muslim band. Local for sure. Probably more... Probably have a good insight to the place. A woman and child, probably not wise to approach in a Muslim country like that. I approach a bearded man who could well be 25 or 45. He's studying the arrival and departure board. Let's try small talk first. Beautiful day, isn't it? Yes, sorry I'm busy, he replies and walks away. I keep trying. This time I like to approach. Okay, I keep trying on someone else. All right. Maybe staff member. I noticed an airport staff standing in the middle of the lounge. He seems like he's not doing anything in particular. Can I help you? He asks as I draw closer. Let's talk about himself first. How do you like working here? I like it very much, thank you. The employee replies, have a nice day, sir. He pulls out the phone out of his pocket and starts playing Tetris. You know what? That was brief. Inside the European tourist. Papa tourist, she looks like a backpacker, probably in her 30s. She's kneeling on the floor, fumbling with a suitcase zipper. I'd kill for a drink, she says before I can get a word in. Care to join me? Sure, why not? Great, the girl says. She zips up her suitcase and gets up. Let's go find a bar then. And so begins our search for booze. I like how she immediately is alright with it. And so are we. As the taxi speeds along the highway. Oh, I thought we would be searching the airport actually. I have no idea where we're going. My new backpacker friend Antonia whispered the destination to the driver as we talk about our plans for Egypt. She stops me mid-sentence with a snicker. Are you telling me that you bought a one-way ticket? To stop herself from laughing, Antonia covers her mouth with her hands, slender as a pianist. The gesture is surprisingly casual, yet dignified. And you are planning to float back to Europe on a raft? I shouldn't have let my guard down like that. Probably not the greatest conspirator. If a 15-minute conversation is all it takes to reveal my greatest secret of the upcoming weeks. And what's that bush on your face supposed to be? My yellow traveler says. My fellow travelers. I don't know why I said yellow. Brushing her hand against the wild an unkept fur covering my cheeks. Camouflage. Just don't tell me you're pretending to be a refugee. Tension rises in my body. She hit the bullseye, of course, and now she's smiling, waiting for my answers, but then she raises her palm to her forehead, slightly embarrassed. I'm sorry, she gets serious. I have a natural talent for invading people's privacy. I'll shut up now. She stays quiet. For no more than 5 seconds, she can't help herself. You know what? I like you, she says. About 20 kilometers later. That's a long ride. We stop outside a liquor shop. Antonia asks the driver to wait. A moment later, she's back with a bottle of whiskey. It's illegal to drink in public here, she says. And believe me, you don't want to break the law in Egypt. What now? I think to myself, what are we going to do? Don't worry though, I have a plan. Antonia calms me down before I can utter a word about my fears. She gets into the waiting taxi. No one's going to ID us in the car. 3 weeks later, 3 weeks of whiskey later, under the driver's amused eye and even further into who knows where, Antonia's eyes are sparkling with alcoholic excitement. She takes turns listening and speaking, asking and replying. We exchange words, but their meanings do not matter. This is an act of human to human understanding. We are strangers. We are two strangers joined together for a moment by their need of being heard and seen and drunk. $30 on the meter later, we stop at another shop. I get the whiskey, wouldn't want to mix. I guess something else. I've never drank, so I have no idea. It's against my better judgment. We shouldn't mix drinks, should we? In fact, I decided to mix drinks in order to black out in a hangover in a couple of hours. To forget about responsibilities, adulthood, and nightmare of my stable life for at least a moment. Portia, the pet name she asked me to call her after a few drinks, gets our 2 final beers, which is down the dry muscat with a pilsner. As the taxi drifts around the city, the alcohol awakens my artistic sensibilities. I am flooded with memories of the beatnik literature I read as a teenager, wild fantasy about life led from bar to bar, forever on the road, without a job, adventures thrown around America by their hitchhiker's luck. For a moment, I forget that the world exists. Inspired, I tell Antonia about Ginsberg's poetry, Kerouac's prose, Dylan's music, fueled by a longing for my teenage fantasy, which I never lived out. I start a logomaniacal speech, a structureless stream of consciousness which probably no one understands but me. And yet, Tosia's still here, listening patiently, and she seems to understand. Do you think people can still live like that today? She asked. In her question, I sense a drunken hope underpinned by desperation. It's what I'm trying to do, I guess. Sometimes I imagine this situation. I tell her. It's 1 p.m. on Wednesday. I'm sitting in my office, correcting another contract. Suddenly, the sun peers out from behind the clouds. I feel its warm rays on my face. I squint and get up from my desk to close the blinds. And then I notice a bum out in the street, a poor victim of his own habit, rambling around the city, hoping to coax enough change out of people for a can of beer. All my civilized reflexes tell me to feel sorry for him, but all I feel is envy, because he seems freer than me. Take a sip of my beer. Then I walk away from my window and leave the office without even closing my laptop. I continue my fantasy. I get in the car, start the engine, and start driving nowhere specific, anywhere. Just for sake of being on the road. Onward, drive, not knowing what will happen. I feel like if I feel like it, I turn left or right, drive out of the city, pull over in the middle of a bright yellow canola field, and just take it all in without a plan. Tosia's listening, hypnotized. I pause for a moment. The taxis roaming around the streets of Alexandria. I've never done it, I confess to her. A little embarrassed, even though I run my own company and I'm my own boss, something's still stopping me. You think too much, my backseat neighbor says, smiling encouragingly. Try to turn off your thinking for a moment. Maybe this is why you came to Africa. She stretches out her hand, closes her fist, and opens up again, just on impulse for no reason. She looks over her arm from all sides. Then she extends one finger and touches my nose, and my ear and my lips. I'm a little confused. I don't think I bite. The finger slides between my teeth. I move my tongue over the delicate fingertip, feeling the hardness of a nail. The touch sends a thrill over my body. It's fresh and intense, like in high school. Meanwhile, my brain is in state of panic, multiplying questions and doubts, trying to rationalize the strangeness of my position. Can the driver see us? I mean, obviously. What is he thinking? How is the situation going to unfold? I'm sure that I packed condoms. Am I sure? Oh, okay, so this explains the choice for that. My lips let go of Tosia's finger. I tilt my head to the side, looking at her foggingly, excitedly. The cheeks are glowing pink. My mind does not understand what's going on right now. I put my lips on his. See what happens? We start kissing like animals. Holy shit. With the driver watching. Fuck it. Oh, we're definitely gonna get caught. Passionate and wild. Reckless. Free. And arrested. Tosia bites my tongue gently. I pull back and see her smiling. Her eyes sparkle playfully. My breaths are deep and my heart is racing. I'm waiting. She tucks her hair behind the ear and adjusts the jeans over thighs. Adjusts the jeans over her thighs. She raises her head and speaks to the driver. She gives him the address of a hotel. I never had sex on the first date. Okay, it took me a while to realize what I meant. Until today, that is. I woke up before dawn, feeling like I've forgotten something. Shit, I was supposed to call up my publisher as soon as I checked into my hotel. Well, this isn't my hotel, so I kiss my sleeping lover hurriedly and head out. Still groggy. Out in the street, I realized we never exchanged numbers. I mean, took you a while to realize that, but as I check in, As I check in at the desk, I find Antonia's business card in my wallet. With her number underlined, I smile. Was she drunk or was she not drunk? I guess we're the only one who was drunk and not functioning mentally well. I feel the rush of endorphins. It's too early to call my publisher, but it would be a sin to waste all that energy I feel like writing. I can sense the freshness of my thoughts. I reach for my notebook and look through today's entries. Which one should I elaborate on? First impressions? Try to recall my first impressions after landing in Egypt. The airport was no different from what I've seen in Europe. Describe the airport in detail. I focus on people. I mean, there's no detail in the airport besides planners, as you mentioned. I look for some universal themes which would connect the Muslim and the European communities. I move on to another entry. That's enough for today. Let's move on to that entry. Do some writing more. I read through my draft a few times over so that I can enjoy the melody of the sentences. Then I wonder if I'd like to expand on something else tonight. I close my notebook and put the pen down. That's enough for today. I don't need to write anything else. Feeling like I fulfilled my literary duty, I can finally go to bed. My first day in Africa has come to an end. Thank you for playing Ticket to Europe demo. You can support us by adding our game to your Steam wishlist. Not gonna lie, that was excuse me. I was expecting like the moment we start off immediately we would be diving into the so-called theme of the game, but at the same time this so-called character building for our protagonist and his initial experiences, kind of dig it. I wonder what the other choices will let us do. You know, we didn't approach the woman and child. I wonder if there's like some sort of interaction there and all that. Right, before we end up, let's see on the book. First impressions, tags. Yeah, I wonder what all these tags are. Especially this one. Like, probably somewhere down the road we can use our empathy to answer or to pick a choice in the dialogue, something like that. But with that said, that brings us to the end for this Steam Next Fest Inattention Look special, where you took a look at Ticket to Europe, a game that's developed by X0. It's slated to be released on the first quarter of 2023. Definitely gonna keep my eyes on it, since I'm very interested to know what will happen once we really dive into the world of pretending to be a refugee and see how their journey will unfold or tend to be. According to the Steam store pages, 10 hours of gameplay in a single playthrough, 30 hours of content in total, so that's plenty of stuff to get through. 3 unique playthroughs, hundreds of tags, coming your character and items, 20 NPCs to meet and learn. Yes, now that's a lot. I'm psyched for that. Plus, I want to see more of the hand-drawn illustrations, since only we saw like partial of it and it's already nice. And looking at the Steam store page, I mean, it seems very, I would say, unique and nice in its own style. Man, if only I could draw anything like that, yeah, it would be amazing. All right, apologies for rambling there again. This has been Inattention Special. We took a look at Steam Next Fest October 22 edition. This has been Ticket to Europe, published and developed by X0. My name has been Kaiser. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.